Hey everybody, Amber Carnes from Body Positive Yoga here, and I am here with Diane Bondi. Hey Diane.
Hey Amber.
So Diane and I are really excited about launching our new online teacher training course, Yoga for All, creating body positive yoga classes for all shapes, sizes, and abilities. We are so excited seeing the registrations roll in, and we can't wait to launch on June 15th. And so we are going to share with you today some of the big takeaways from each of the modules, just so you can get a sneak peek at what we're going to be talking about inside the course. And so Diane and I are really excited about sharing this work with you.
Yay. Thank you for being on, for opening the email and checking us out. You won't be disappointed with what we're going to be speaking about now. So let's get started.
Okay, so week one, the takeaway we really wanted to talk today is about why the phrase listen to your body is too simple and what to say instead and what to say to your students. So I think a lot of us, when we are in yoga classes, like that's one of the cues that we hear a lot, or maybe we even say it a lot ourselves. It's like, don't push too far, listen to your body, respect your body. But for a student who's new to yoga, or maybe even new to just being in their bodies and being on the yoga mat, I think it's a confusing thing to say. And it can be kind of problematic because what does that really even mean? Like, are we talking about sensation? Are we talking about pain? And like, how do we interpret the signals that our body sends us? So one of the things we discuss in the course is how to teach our students to just start to do that, to listen to our bodies. So Diane's going to expand a little bit more on that.
So what I've done in my teaching, or what we've done in our teaching, is really set up a place where it's safe for people to understand their bodies. So right off the bat, as a culture, we're super critical of our bodies. And I hear my students constantly saying to me, well, you know what, I can't do yoga because I can't get into this pose and I don't understand this pose and my body doesn't work that way. Your body doesn't need to work that way. So what we're teaching people is the idea of being compassionate about your body, the idea of not being critical of your body, and the understanding that we are adjusting the asana for your already perfect body. So we always talk about how we want to share that information with our students. We want to teach them about sensation. We want to teach them about their abilities within their body. And we really want them to understand that yoga is really about connecting with themselves. So our languaging here is really, really important. So it's right off the bat, setting people up for success by having them understand what it really means to listen to your body and what it really means to love your body and be accepting of your body. So we cover that in great detail in the first module.
Definitely. We talk a lot about language in this course, and that's one of our most powerful tools as yoga teachers. So we feel like it's really important, and we try to impart a lot of the knowledge that we've gained over the years by being students and working with students around language. So we can't wait for you to see what we have in store. So week two, the takeaway that I want to talk about is why Diane and I feel, and we feel so strongly about this. You're going to hear us rant about this like 3 or 4 times throughout the course. But the phrase, the full expression of the pose. So we both hate this phrase. We feel like it's really problematic, and it kind of sets up a lot of expectations that can be harmful to students. So first of all, it says there is one perfect way to do this pose, right, and that there's a right way and a wrong way to do this particular asana. And we know that there are modifications and variations on every single pose in yoga, and you know, some people even debate like what are the real yoga poses, what aren't, and what's traditional and what's not. There's as many different yoga poses as there are yogis and yoga teachers. So we don't like right off the bat to set up this expectation that it has to be a certain shape or a certain form, and that if you don't have the right body to do that pose, then it means that you aren't right for yoga. That's what it communicates to students. And so the full expression of the pose, it implies a hierarchy, that there's a way to do the pose that's more advanced, that's better, and then there's a way to do the pose that's like, well, if you're a loser that can't get into the full expression of the pose, then we'll give you the consolation prize of offering you a prop. And so we really don't like that it kind of reduces people and undermines people and what their unique bodies can do. So we really like to approach it from a different place, which is of empowerment and of taking back your own yoga. And so Diane will talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So I've written a blog on this, the full expression of the pose and the myths behind this. This is how passionately, Amber and I feel about this topic. So instantly we start to set up our students for this idea that they're supposed to look like the front of Yoga Journal, or they're supposed to look like, bodies they see online, or the constant aesthetic that's presented to us all the time. So we want to get away from using that languaging, and we want people to embody the pose. And embodying the pose is their own personal expression of the pose. If we really want to break down yoga to make it accessible and understandable to people, then we always need to meet people where they're at. And where they're at is whatever their bodies can do. So we're going to teach you in this module to be compassionate, to be observant, and to use the appropriate language that is going to set your students up for success. So there's going to be a lot of talking around languaging, because that's a lot of what you're going to be doing in your yoga classes, is talking to your students, connecting with your students, meeting them where they are, but not leaving them there, helping them move forward in their practice and ultimately in their lives. So that full expression of the pose, we're going to toss that right out the window and come up with an expression of the pose that embodies yoga for each and every one of your students.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll move right on to week 3. And our takeaway during week 3 that we want to share with you is some suggestions about how to physically set up your classroom to make it a more welcoming environment to all students. So one of the things that I really like to make sure that I do when I set up the classroom is everybody gets the same props when we start out. And it's kind of like a big joke at the beginning of my classes, because students will come in for the first time and they'll be like, so do I need a block? And I'm like, get all the props. Like, we're going to use probably every single one. And then even if we don't use it, maybe we take a few more minutes at the beginning of class or a few minutes at the end to put them up. But we have them available. We have them ready. And if a student needs a prop, then it's right there. They don't have to feel singled out that because I'm walking to them and offering them the prop, or because they have to go open a cabinet or go into another room to get a block or a strap. A lot of students just won't do that. They won't advocate for themselves. And even though they might know that they need a little bit more support, if the prop's not right there in front of them, they might not go get it. They might not use it, or they might not take care of their body in the way that they could. And we can avoid that as teachers. We can set everybody up with the same props. Nobody feels singled out. And even students who you think might not need the props, like for instance with sun salutations, a lot of times I'll teach those with blocks under the hands. And even for students that I have who can reach the floor with their hands when they fold forward, they'll try it with the props, and later I will have those students come to me and say, I never really felt that, supported in a pose, or I really feel like I got the pose better in my body because I used that prop. So you never know which of your students might benefit from having that. So my suggestion is give everybody the same props at the beginning of the class and teach your students how to use them throughout. And Diane's got some other suggestions.
Absolutely. And you know what? We also need to reframe our languaging and our concept of props. So I always give props, haha, to Mr. Iyengar for creating props. And if we want to talk about traditional forms of yoga, Mr. Iyengar's form of yoga is traditional. And he introduced these props. So we let people know that props have been around for a very long time, and that they're not crutches to your practice, but enhancements. And Amber, it's funny that you mentioned that your students come up to you and say, oh my gosh, I've never used props in forward fold before, and I had a whole new opening. That just happened to me this week. I had a very advanced student who can probably stick her whole hands underneath her feet, use props for the first time, because I just said, we're going to have a prop it up class and we're all going to just experience what props are like. And she got to experience a whole different practice. Props can be used for support, they can be used for resistance, they can be used just to make an asana fun. And you'll never know that if you don't explore the power of props. And also setting up your classroom for success. Where do you put brand new students in a mixed level progressive class? Where do you put students who are more advanced in a class so that everybody feels like they're being served? So there are very specific ways to physically set up your class for success for all progressive yogis in your class, so that your most advanced student can get something out of your class and your raw beginner can get something out of your class without feeling defeated or bored or not challenged. So we're going to show you how to set up your classroom for success.
Yeah, so week 4, we have mostly all asana videos, and we talk about dozens of different poses, how to modify them for larger bodies, for students who are injured, maybe for students who are disabled. We have a lot of different asana modifications, but one of the biggest, most frequently asked questions that Diane and I get are about transitions. So we're talking about things like being in downward facing dog and stepping the foot forward into a lunge, or coming from standing to getting down on the floor. So we have a lot of students that have trouble with these sort of transitions. And I mean, even in my own body, like stepping the foot forward into a lunge from downward facing dog, still not super easy for me. Still have to modify that, still have to do it a different way than what most teachers say. And I mean, I've been practicing yoga for almost 11 years now, so it's not just, you know, beginner students that need these sort of help with transitions. So Diane is going to talk a little bit about transitions and how to facilitate that for your students.
So I've had the fortune, I've been fortunate enough to be in a smaller body and be in a bigger body and be doing yoga in both those bodies. So I feel like I have a unique perspective on getting transitions for smaller bodies and getting transitions for bigger bodies and putting them together so that they work in a progressive mixed level class or in a yoga for all class. So we get tons of questions. I get at least a question a day about transitions. So it's nice to keep your class flowing and people want to work within that flow. So we've created transitions that people can continue to teach a vinyasa class, and people can take the transitions that work best in their body and still arrive at the same place in class. And that's taken years to develop and years to figure out. I've been practicing yoga for 42 years, and like I said, a bigger body and a smaller body, so transitions are my thing. So Amber and I had great fun putting together all the videos and showing you the myriad of ways that you can present yoga to everybody. So I'm really excited about the asana. So I think Amber and I, we should post some of the outtakes where we got giggling and stuff with our asana, but you can really connect with your students on a powerful level when they feel included in the flow. And we're going to share that with you. So week 4 is pretty awesome. It's pretty asana.
Yeah, so you can see we have a little bit of fun with it. We definitely have a blooper reel that we could make, so we might have to go back and do that sometime, Diane.
Yep.
So thanks for tuning in to this video. We really hope you can join us for this course. We have a lot of people signed up and signing up and interested, and we are so excited about having other yoga teachers, our fellow colleagues in this really important work of bringing yoga to all different sorts of people and body types and range of abilities. I think it's incredibly important that we broaden the scope of who is included in yoga, and it's not just for people that look like, you know, magazine models. It's for all of us, and often the people who are left on the margins are the people who really need yoga the most. And so we're really excited that you're interested in helping to further this important work around yoga and body image and accessibility, both on and off the mat. You know, this can really change not only your students' yoga practice, but ultimately can change their lives and the way that they feel about themselves. And so we're incredibly grateful for you, for tuning in and for supporting us and for sharing in this work. So thank you, and we can't wait to see you in the course.
Oh, before we run away, there's a bonus, because week 5, we're doing a webinar jam. So you guys are going to get to connect with Amber and I live and in person online. So, you know, throughout the course, what you'll be able to do is write down your questions. And if anything comes up that we didn't cover in the course, we get to cover in the webinar jam. So it's nice to connect with people one-on-one. If for whatever reasons you can't make it to that last module, remember that all of the modules are taped, and you work at your own pace and you work in your own time. So don't be afraid to let time get in the way of your ability to change the way you teach, to change the way you impact your students, to change the aesthetic of Yoga for All, and to ultimately not only change people's lives, but change the world. This is a powerful practice. And the sooner we get everybody on the mat, the better off this world would be. And that's just my soapbox moment. So we're super looking forward to being a part of this with you. We all learn together. And when we come together like this, together we rise.
Yes, we do. I can't say it any better myself. So we will see you online, and don't forget to visit yogaforalltraining.com, and we'll see you on the mat.
Thanks, everyone.